very good afternoon. Welcome to the Craft in Focus Film Festival. I'm speaking in English because we've got some international guests present. We're going to screen the film Maker, and this is an American documentary which came out last week, and already we can screen it here at the festival, so it's the Dutch, maybe even European premiere of this movie. After the movie we have a special discussion, and for that we have Daan Roosegaarde present, Dutch inventor, pioneer, who doesn't really want to be labeled, but who is present and can share his vision on the maker movement. We've got Marco Cochrane from San Francisco, sculptor who made beautiful sculptures for Burning Man, and who will give a talk this evening, but now he can also reflect with his own view on the maker movement in general. And we've got Wiersma, the director of the Amsterdam Maker Festival, our partner festival right now in the big hall. So we're very glad that you're all here. And we're going to screen this film now, and I hope you really enjoy the screening. Thank you. Maker the movie. Can I please invite Dan, Marco, Nathan to share your thoughts about this third industrial revolution, co-creation, democratic process. It's all changing. Please take.
So, hello everybody. Very happy to see you all here, and that you visit the festival, the film festival, and also the Amsterdam Maker Festival. And we have two special guests we're bringing for you, who are really well, hardcore makers, if I may say so. And I would like to shortly introduce them, then have a short discussion with them about what they think about this maker movement and what the impact can be of this maker movement. But we surely want you to involve in this discussion as well. So after their short story, we will give you the chance as well to ask them questions and to discuss how you think about the maker movement and what the impact can be. So let me start with Mr. Marco Cochrane, right? Yeah, he's from San Francisco, and a few weeks ago we were in San Francisco and we visited his maker space, where he's building very huge, big sculptures that go to Burning Man Festival. And he was telling us about why he's doing it and what's his idea behind it. So he's going to share these ideas with you. And the other guy over here is Daan Roosegaarde. If you don't know him, uitzending gemist, zomergasten. Check it out. YouTube as well. Yeah. Oh, they blocked it. Okay, so we watch it on YouTube. Otherwise, go to his website and check it out. But he's an inventor, he's an artist, he's a creator, a thinker. Well, if you see all these titles in the beginning of the movie, you're a maker, right? Absolutely. And he has some marvelous ideas and projects going on. So, first of all, tell us something about what you are doing, Marco.
Okay. I do. Anybody go to Burning Man? No. It's okay. There's one. Let's see, I do 40-foot, 50-foot sculptures made out of basically like geodesic domes. That's a very simplistic way of doing it, but lots of little pieces working together to make a shape. And I make giant women for a lot of reasons. And come back in a couple hours and I'll tell you all about it. What I'm here to talk about today, though, is I feel like in the world there's all this maker stuff, but there's this whole sense of wanting to save the world. That's what I focus my attention on. That there are problems that have been around for a long time, and I think we can solve them. That the intent is there in most people, and for me, what I think is missing is a place to focus that attention. It's sort of dispersed throughout humanity. And the idea I've had is, I'm from San Francisco, and I work on Treasure Island, which is an island in the middle of San Francisco Bay. And there's millions of people with great intent there, but it's not really focused in one area. When I go to Burning Man, and there's a focus there to express yourself and have fun and be good to each other, which all sounds like everybody wants to do that, but they don't really do it. Well, if you go to Burning Man, they really do it. We really can be good to each other and focus together as individuals. So for me, the idea is to get that island, or any island, there's one here too, and focus all of our maker intent and save the world intent, and the business intent to do that, and focus it in one place and actually get this job done.
Great. So we'll talk about that. Yeah. Daan, what are you doing? Not everything, but just some global overview.
What do you want to know? Can you be specific or anything?
You're a maker. What are you making?
Oh, what I'm making now. I just came back from Beijing. A city so filled with smog that you almost start to smoke again just to feel healthy. It's really, so I'm like you. I like making things and I love technology in that way. But there, it's a good example that somehow technology has side effects that we never thought of, that we don't have under control yet. So there's Leonardo da Vinci, but there's also George Orwell. And so that's happening right there. What we're doing right now with our studio is that we say, okay, we don't take that for granted. The smog, the polluted people live 8 years shorter, children with lung cancer when they're 6, etc., etc. How can we use that to design with? So we're developing a gigantic electronic vacuum cleaner to create the cleanest part in Beijing. We're sucking up the smog, making a place which is 75% more clean than the rest of the city. So that's kind of awesome that you create. It's sort of like snow in Africa. It's like something you can smell the innovation, you can feel the innovation. But what we're also doing is not just making the mega statement. We realized that in the first prototypes, we were the smog that we collected. We had like this sort of baskets full of it in the studio standing, and they were like, no, we should not throw it away. Like, waste for the one is food for the other. So what we realized is when we looked at the smog is that it's made out of carbon dioxide. And what happens when you put carbon dioxide under a lot of pressure for a couple of periods? You get diamonds. Oh. And so we're just came back from Beijing where we're sort of making smog rings, jewelry, and that by sharing or buying a ring, you donate 1,000 cubic meters of clean air to the city. And now the city wants 1 million of them in the coming 3 years. So I think, you know, that's sort of fascinating. It's about creativity, but for me it's also important that it's connected to, how do you say it, social relevance, or that, yeah, to update reality. And what I liked about this movie is they all share, there was one word sort of popping up when I was listening to all those people, and that's empathy. There's a desire to personalize, to give a shit, to care. And I think that's incredibly powerful about all these people, and I feel really connected to that.
So when I was watching this movie, I had, well, when I see this, yes, we're organizing this Maker Festival because we want to inspire people to be makers yourself. So I hope you all are inspired to do something yourself. And yes, we want to have young people here to be inspired and to start making and maybe make a career making. But they are talking about the future, like we don't know where we're going, maybe it's fading away, maybe it's not, maybe it can have a high impact. How do you look at that? Do you think makers can have a high impact really on world problem?
I do. And for me, when I was a little kid, I thought, I had a sense of what the world would be. And it wasn't like that at all. It was totally messed up. Yeah. And as I talk to people, pretty much all agree that this is not what we thought it was going to be.
Oh yeah,
which
I always had people telling me that what I want could never be done. Or you had the same, or?
Oh yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
You should disagree.
We should disagree. So I totally disagree. Right. So for me, I like to look at what's here. Yeah. Like the carbon dioxide.
Yeah.
And what's here in all humans, it seems like, is this optimism that gets if you have that optimism, it's depressing when you look at the world. But with these tools that the maker world is you can actually do things about problems. And another thing that's beautiful about humans is we want to be heroes. That's what all movies are about, problem solving. We get to be a hero. And again, we have these huge tools, these tools that are so powerful. And the idea that, just to change the idea that the thing you think the world ought to be, go for that. You know, don't accept it the way it is. Change it. And I've done things that were impossible, that everybody said were impossible. And it's totally possible to do impossible things.
Yeah. No, I can relate to that, and I think the consequence is interesting. So what's next? Okay, we have all 3D printer, the coming 5 to 6 years, maybe I can plug it into my neurons so that what I'm thinking is printed, so I can skip the software, etc., etc. But is that the real interesting thing? I think no. You know, I think it becomes interesting when you start to connect it with other disciplines, or start to, I'm driving on a road in Europe and government is shutting down streetlights to save money. You know, I think that's insane, you know. We should do more, not less, you know. So we should work together to look at a jellyfish deep underwater. How does it create its own light, you know? It doesn't have a battery, it doesn't have a solar panel, it doesn't have an eco bill. So what can we learn from the notion of nature, biomimicry, to make our places more natural again? And I think there's a sort of danger, perhaps, in this crowdsourced, open source movement, although I really appreciate it. But the horror is maybe then that government says, oh, people do it themselves. And of course, I think with the crowdsurfing in the Netherlands, in every European country, in every country in the world, we have been doing it for many, many years already. It's called paying taxes, you know. The government takes away 40–50% of you. And so I think it's also, of course, the crowdsurfing is great, but it's also a government or an entrepreneur saying, hey, we should team up with young makers. We should invest in new ideas in order to survive, because it's more fun. So it's a full package, and this was just showing the beginning. But we're definitely moving from an age where we move from consumer to semi-producer, and that's going to be fascinating. Yeah, that's going to be disruptive. Yeah.
Yeah. So what do we need to bring this further? Because we have all these techniques, we have all this knowledge, we have a network worldwide, because we can connect. If you're in Beijing, I can talk to you, right? And we can share IDs, and you send me your data, and I can make something for you which you thought of. So that's all possible. But what do we need to really solve problems?
I think competition is the way we go. And we team up, say California against the Netherlands. And, but what we're competing for is who can clean the air fastest for the cheapest amount of money. Who can feed the most people, you know, with the best food, just endlessly.
Yeah.
I
feel a hidden agenda. No. Yeah. Okay. No, come on. Yeah. He wants to battle.
You want to battle?
Yeah.
I think that we have been doing this forever. We have been battling in wars, and it seems to be a natural thing that we do. So let's do it for good, and full on, like a war, and get our, you know, maybe if we did it well enough, we could get our governments to back this. And go, no, we're going to win. You know, just bring that, oh no, you did not. You know, we're going to feed more people. We're going to clean more water. We can't let them do that to us. I think that'd be fun. And it brings out the worst and the best in us.
So, if we do that, and you have a good idea, and he is in San Francisco doing the same, will you share ideas with him or not?
Yeah, no, and absolutely, and I like the competitive element, because in the end it's about the story that it generates. You know, you cannot own an idea, you can own its execution perhaps, and then somebody else comes and hopefully does it better. So, you know, what for me is fascinating, to answer your question, like how to move away from that it's without a consequence, is that well, you need to have young, bright people who are open for new ideas, who have the tools, that's education. You need to have a government who has guts, yes, to invest in it. Because that's what I see on a weekly basis, you know. You have this great community filled with ideas. You have CEOs of very big companies with a lot of money and very little ideas, who are scared of the future in a way, because it threatens them. And you have a government sort of figuring out, like, okay, how can we make our policy what we have, how we can make it real, how can we make it connecting with people. So the true maker is also a connector, is also a mediator between all that. And you know, maybe what we need is a white cube with a pizza hotline tagged on the door and says, okay, nobody leaves until we have a solution. So maybe that's what we really need, yeah, to continue your competitiveness.
So we need a physical place where we can put this clever, young, bright people together, where they can focus.
Yeah, and a crazy mayor, take one in Amsterdam or in Eindhoven or Rotterdam, and a large entrepreneur who's sort of searching for what's coming. I think that is really important to make it relevant. You know, I think every good idea has a consequence, and you have to fight for that. You have to find it. That.
You agree with that?
Yeah.
Because this was quite humble, I think, in a way. Still, don't you agree?
Yes. It's much too humble.
Yeah.
I mean, in the future, I'd say in 20 years, there's not going to be any manufacturing jobs at all. You know, they say that there's still going to be manufacturing jobs in 20 years. I don't think so. Why there'd be robots doing it anyway. So we're going to have the ability to make anything and massive unemployment. So what do? To me, you can basically all we need to do is agree on what we're doing. And we got to find areas where we have agreement, which are playing, fun, enjoyment. Everybody likes that feeling. So wars help economies. That's a crazy thing to say, but it's true.
I think like the Arduino that we're using is all DARPA military and stuff. So in a weird way, it starts all there.
Yeah.
That's very cynical.
Yeah. But if a war can help an economy, then anything can help an economy. I mean, literally, you can base an economy on anything you agree on. So let's agree on fun, and innovation, and play, and joy, and community. And competition, which is, it drives things. It's much more fun if you're competing. You don't have to lose. Everyone can win on these levels.
With regards to that, with the small project that is my current obsession, is that because we launched the idea and the press it got, suddenly we got like hundreds of emails of inventors, artists, architects, concerned citizens with their own inventions, their own smog solutions. So we have this weird guy in Thailand who designed a bicycle which gets dirty air in and it spits clean air into your face so you can cycle and still breathe. You have this London girl who has a dress with a paint which changes in color when the smog level is too high, so you can see when and you have this other Beijing lady who has a greenhouse, as a how do you call it, a rucksack, as a backpack. Says with a hose, she can breathe clean air, and we realized, shit, we should do something with that. You know, it's not just about me and having an idea. So we're launching a smog solution exhibition where we're putting all those ideas in the same room in Beijing, and some are naive and symbolic, and some really make sense. You know, you have the students who make a do-it-yourself air purifier, which is 90% as good as the Philips one, but 10 times cheaper. So, whoa, you know, and it becomes in their competitive zone suddenly. And that's incredibly fascinating when it becomes a movement where people say, okay, we don't believe in a big system anymore. We stop believing in that, and we start doing it ourselves. And all you have to do is sort of push that in the same room, make the statement, and get the attention. And that becomes very powerful. So yeah, we're definitely in the beginning of that.
Shall we ask what the audience is thinking about that, or if they have any questions about that, this idea? Is there anyone? We have a microphone, right? Yeah, okay.
My question is, in the film I get the idea that most of the things that are made are out of a hobby. Is this an important aspect of this maker movement, or can it also be professionalized? Or can it be professional?
Well, I hope so. I think, you know, you have to be a happy infiltrator. I'm a happy infiltrator. So you have a radical idea, you go to government and they say, ah no, we did tests and it doesn't work, and you know, we have to shut the street lights because it's cheaper, blah 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 blah. And then you say, no, that's not true, you know, it's a lie. So you team up with other people who are interested in that. But it's definitely usually a bottom to up movement. But in the end, it will realize a movement or an entrepreneur company which is sort of eating or collaborating with the existing entrepreneurial layer in government. You know, people want to change out of two reasons: out of love for the future, or out of desperation for the future. And I don't really mind which one of them it is, but it's infecting that professional layer more and more. You know, like an Uber, the taxi service, who's launching now a package service, which says, okay, I'm here, pick me up package. That scares the shit out of CEO Post.nl, you know. And so, you know, do you work together? Do you fight them? That's exactly the creative struggle you mentioned. And that's incredibly fascinating. So no, it's not hobby. Yes, it's professional. And who will rule? We are in the middle of that.
A follow-up question is then, is there a way to have an infrastructure to combine all these thoughts that are worldwide spread?
Don't say Burning Man.
That's what I'm thinking about, focusing, having actual places in cities where this is focused. And there being open source, cameras everywhere in that location, recording the video and also the conversations that are happening. So that if you want to, if you say, we're going to deal with this problem today, and I don't know if you've watched Junkyard Wars. That was a great show where they give you 10 hours to solve the problem. It's something like that, like, how can we clean the air in Beijing? And it turns out that if you do, you know, if you take a paper bag and you put slices in it and you hang it outside your window, it works. Who knows what that is? But then if you could tell people that, you could say, you know what, if everybody just does this one simple thing, and the government's not going to pay you to do it, but just, if everyone just does something, and here it is, it's this little paper folding thing, and here it is, you're done, just put it out and it works. We could do huge, yes, and it is because I'm from Burning Man, where there's no, everybody brings the show. There's nothing, there's nothing there.
There's no stage.
There's no stage, there's no band. People just bring their own stuff, and it is unbelievable. The level of competition that happens there. When I first was there in 2007, I mean, you can't believe it. You just cannot believe what 20 years of people competing to blow each other's mind, what will happen. And if we competed like that to solve problems, and then found out, okay, well, there is a solution. Somebody came up with it and open sourced it, and so now there's millions of these little things instead of one guy figured something out. And now we have to go through channels to get the government to pay for it or whatever. Let's just do it.
Yeah, and that's exactly what you're saying. That makes today, to answer your question as well, very interesting. That in a weird way, the crisis, which we are in Europe, forces us again to be creative. Yes? So the mayor of Beijing would have never worked with me 5 years ago. Are you crazy? They would have said, oh, it's dust from the sand. Or the road manufacturer Heijmans. If they really liked me, they would have purchased an artwork and said, ah, we have a rose bottle in our, you know, so it would have been decoration, yes. And because it crashes so much, people have an urge to look for new answers, because they want to, because they have to. And that's fascinating, or that's your playground for maneuver. And I think the maker of today should claim that more, should go out and say, hey, we know that, we own that, or we can fill that in. So that's why the notion of the happy infiltrator is really important. And that makes today really exciting and could be a potential push move this from hobby to professional.
Another question. Yes, over there.
Yeah, I'm very interested in your ideas about education. What should change in education to liberate this creativity?
Again, I think it's trying different things. I think there should be radical different approaches to education and see what works, and then do that. And what we're doing now, at least in America, is doing the same thing forever. In fact, making it worse and worse and worse. And not being creative at all about how to teach something to somebody. And I think that's going to change quickly, because as soon as somebody figures out an easier way to teach math that really works, people will buy it. Because it'll be cheap too, because it's just software. But I think, yeah, we're going to have to figure out a way of being creative is going to be the most important thing. Because the tools to make anything are there, are easy. And it won't be long before you can think at a computer and it'll make stuff. So you got to figure out how to think, how to be creative.
Yeah, I thank you for that question, because I think education is one of the biggest discipline who has an urge for change. Because both my parents are tutored, and I hated school. You know, it sort of always tried to limit me in the dream world I had. So I think you're right. It's about triggering creativity. That was also one of the reasons why I told Bussenmaker, you should come here, because he's always about school and talent, and I'm like, okay, but then you should go here, not just in the policy. And she came yesterday, so that you know, it's sort of triggering these kind of decision makers to say, hey, look, this is not a hobby. This is people recreating their reality. So the notion of creativity, especially in the Netherlands, which is really small country, to ingrain that, it's about showing that it is value, that it has a sort of soft capital in this, allowing the system to research, to fail, to take a risk, to not focus on just return of investment in hours and numbers, which the system is in right now. But you're absolutely right, that has still a long way to go, to be honest. And I don't have a real answer for that yet.
I hope maker festivals like this will help a little bit, at least.
Yeah. Maker schools.
We had a question over there. First over there, okay. And then we come to you, okay?
Yes, responding to what you said, and this is somewhat more philosophical question. To what extent do you think the makers movement is addressing sort of a fundamental epistemological issue about knowledge, and the fact that knowledge is not only gained on the university, which is now seen as sort of the holy grail of what you can get, and you know, politicians are talking about the knowledge economy. But making things is, of course, it's about embodied knowledge, about tacit knowledge, about skill. So it's a very different kind of knowledge. So how do you think this will? I mean, do you think we have to revalue this whole idea about what knowledge is?
Well, the notion of craftsmanship has been completely disappeared in a country like the Netherlands. It's underestimated. The guy in the movie said it already. The low-educated students go to a craftsman lesson, and the well-educated go somewhere else. So, if I believe in learning by doing, by building, by touching something, you understand it, you have a connection with it, and to do that on a high-end level where you're connected with other experts, like we're working now on light-emitting trees, you know, like what can we learn from the jellyfish, you know. I don't know how a tree works, so I team up with the Wageningen University, and so the notion of working with experts to make a dream come true, that's the moment you understand this notion of the network, like Marshall McLuhan said, at spacecraft Earth there are no passengers, we are all crew. How you can ingrain that in how you make knowledge, how you build it, how you learn from it, that's the real future for me. And I think you and I, we are both doing it at almost on a studio level. The next one is to scale that up, maybe on a city level, like in San Francisco. And then the education and the university will follow.
Yes, and I think that the human race is changing. The reason why it looks the way it does is because it needed to be this way. We didn't have mass manufacturing, we didn't have 3D printers. You basically, 100 years ago, you needed to teach people to work in a factory and really stifle their creativity so that they could do repetitive tasks. And that's what school was for. And that's how learning was set up. But we're moving out of that. And that was the intent of the Industrial Revolution, was to give people free time and take hard work out of our lives. And it took 250 years, and we're finally here. And so we're looking at what's been in the past, and it doesn't make any sense for the present. But the future, kids are all creative. All you gotta do is just let them be creative. Hang out with, give them something they're interested in. You don't need to teach creativity, and you can't teach creativity. We're all creative. And we're at a point where we can celebrate that and let everyone do that. It's going to happen in our lifetimes, that you got to choose what you would really love to do and do that. Don't even think about what you would have to do, because robots are going to do all that stuff. And we got to change the way we're thinking. And it's easy for the next generation to tell your kids, what do you love to do? Do that. Go for it. That's easy.
But we are still in the struggle. Eh? When you look at like Monsanto, who just buys all the rights of grain and does all these not so nice things with the farms in India and stuff. So we are in a knowledge battle in a way. Like who has control of the things that I eat, the things that I buy, the things that I drive in, the streets, the lights I encounter every day. That makes it very interesting. And, we are exactly in the middle of that.
Well, but please, no more.
Yeah. Okay. Yes.
Where's the microphone? Yeah, over there. Okay.
In the documentary, I think was still a lot of differentiation between hardware and software. Well, I think that the maker community and the hacker community, I think that should be coming together and are becoming more and more together. Your opinion, please.
Yes. Yes. Yeah, I think, technology is jumping out of the computer screen, becomes a part of the things that we wear, the roads that we drive on. So the notion of the interface or a button which you can freaking download something. Are you crazy? The notion of an app, that's insane. So the glass will know I'm full, I'm empty. The suit will tell me, Daan, your heartbeat is going up too fast. So this notion of tactile technology, and if you look at the Spike Jonze, the Her movie that was just launched, so it becomes immaterial, or I think that's incredibly fascinating. It almost becomes a voice which we can follow along with. Yeah.
Also in the sharing of information, like you with open source software.
In open source software, there's a real good way of sharing all your information, and I still think the maker side is to catch up on that one.
Yeah. But it's also like, where's the upgrade? So we can build an open source car and drive around it in the desert. But if it's still oil based, it's not innovative. It's not innovation for me. Yes. So that's also interesting. You have all this medium, but what's the message? What's the real world we're building? And you're absolutely right. That's about connecting and the notion of sharing and see if the majority makes a wise decision or not.
Yeah. Well, I think one of the other aspects of change is that as humans we have basically gathered into groups because we like to hang out in groups. And each time we gather in a group and we bump into another group, we've gone to war with them until we get bigger and bigger and bigger groups. And I think we're, again, in our lifetime, maybe I'm too optimistic, but I think in our lifetime, we're going to recognize that we're all one family. And that, once you get that, we spend so much time on defense, so much money and effort on defense on every level, even individually in business and all that. Once we realize that we actually can just play together, and it still works. It even works financially, even better to just play together and innovate together and hang out together. I know that sounds crazy, But again, it is totally possible. I've seen it, I've lived in it. It's totally possible to change the way you're thinking and go, oh, we can do this together. And why would you want to hide your information? That just ruins the game. It's innovate, 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 give out information and innovate and innovate. That is really fun. If you get playing in that, nothing else can compete.
Yeah.
Great.
Last question.
Last question? Someone? Otherwise I'll do a wrap up. Yeah. Okay. In the middle over there. Yeah, it's really hot in here. Yeah, we go outside later and then have a drink outside, right? Yeah.
Well, in the movie they were talking about democratizing entrepreneurship. Wow, too difficult word tomorrow. But I was wondering how it's connected to the real democracy, like the politics, and how this 19th century democracy will change. Through this movement of makers movement.
So more like power to the people. Maybe.
Yeah, like you see all those changes. Like you already said about this Airbnb and stuff. People are just are their own entrepreneurs and can do all the.
Do it in Dutch. It's okay.
Oké. Je ziet zeg maar dat alles. Dat mensen zeg maar, veel meer zelf naar buiten kunnen gaan en dat dingen als Airbnb steeds meer zeg maar, vanuit mensen zelf komen en dat het eigenlijk bijna ondermijnend is aan de democratie zoals die nu ingericht is, waar je 1 keer in 4 jaar kan stemmen, waar je eigenlijk heel weinig invloed kunt hebben op het politieke systeem en op de beslissingen die gemaakt worden, terwijl wat er nu gebeurt eigenlijk veel meer een directe respons vraagt van wat de samenleving, wat de beleidsmakers vragen. Dus mijn vraag is eigenlijk hoe je die connectie tussen die twee ziet, zeg maar, want eigenlijk moet dat hele politieke systeem zou daar door kunnen eroderen.
Ja, maar dit is gewoon een hele goede vraag die je stelt. Of dat is precies wat er gebeurt. Nee, maar dat is precies wat er gebeurt. Ik kijk de afgelopen 8 tegenlichte uitzendingen. Dus, the notion of the super local. That people don't believe in big system, in big politics. That was the question about political system. People don't believe in that anymore. So they start to make their own food, or their own electricity, or their own health insurance. That's incredibly fascinating. And political world, believe me, has no answer, has no idea how to really give that a position yet. So it's all about being the hippie with a business plan, to have a dream, to have an ideology, and on the other hand, a desire to make it happen. Maybe start local, and triggering or hacking or teasing existing structure, and either they will adapt it and change themselves, or you have to grow bigger and replace it. Yes.
And how to cope with.
But we are exactly in that struggle. But political system, when I meet with them on a small scale, have absolutely no idea how to incorporate that yet. So I think it will have to do, has to be about you and me just starting to do it and see what happens.
And then how to cope with the financial power of big companies and their research.
Yeah.
Well, I think there was something in the movie about that big companies, the innovation of the big companies are not coming from inside, but they're coming from outside. So when you look, if I may talk about that, if you look at these structures, okay. If you look at these big structures of big companies and the world politics, well, these are all human people too. So they want to change as well, because they want to live in a world without problems as well. And if we have these technologies and there's individual people or smaller groups changing the world, they will follow, because they will like it as well. I'm sure they will.
So the big companies that I know, like Heijmans or DSM, are actually quite keen in working with smaller companies to speed up innovation, because they realize they have control and they have knowledge, but they don't have the, how do you call it, Fingerspitzgefühl, the feel of where the world is going. So actually they're doing that more and more. It's just up to you as a maker or as an artist to determine what you share and what you don't share, you know, and how do you have authenticity or ownership, artistic ownership of that process. But that's all about just making a good agreement in the beginning, you know, like you do with everyone. So I think it's about triggering them, showing value with your vision, with the ability to make it, and that's a value that they cherish, yeah. And vice versa as well.
So we will see this as a start, right? The movement like it is now, and I think we have to go a long way, but will afterwards will be not so long, maybe.
No.
No, it's going to take a long way, but it's going to be a short way.
Well, that's the fun part. That's what we are going to decide. So that depends what you're going to do tomorrow, of a Monday morning at 9 o'clock. So we are still in co-control. That's the fun part.
So we can do it.
Absolutely.
If we want, yeah.
So, and we do want to. We want to. And we're going to do it.
And they're already, like what you said, they're already doing it. Yeah.
Yeah.
But we want more. I think everybody wants more.
Yeah.
That's why we're here.
Yeah, do we agree on that? Yeah, okay.
Let's get some fresh air.
Yeah, we get some fresh air. And this is not the last meeting, right? Because we will have another Maker Festival next year. But we will start building this platform of the Maker Festival in Holland as well. Cool. And I think we will start cooperating with San Francisco and sometimes competing. Yes. And we need you to help us. So come and help. And let's discuss that with a drink. Thank you very much.